Welcome back, everybody, to the ATL Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Shepard. Today we have on Coach Jeremy Sheetinger. I will refer to him as Sheets. There will be no Jeremys throughout the podcast. I've been instructed not to do that. It will throw him off his game. So obviously we don't want to do that. So Coach Sheets is the head baseball coach for Georgia Gwinnett College here in Georgia. So without further ado, I'm going to set it over to Sheets, and I'm going to allow Sheets to introduce himself. Kind of tell us the path that he's taken to get to the head coaching job at Georgia Gwinnett and where he plans on going in the next 5, 10, 15 years.
Oh, love it. Hey, Shep, I appreciate you having me on. Excited to be here with you guys. Hopefully we can bring some value to your earbuds. I appreciate you guys dialing in. This is my 20th year. I know it doesn't look like it. I look like a fresh coach right out of college, but it is 20 years, which is amazing. Short version, I'm from Frankfort, Kentucky. I played Division II baseball. I knew I wanted to coach. I got right into it. Right out of college, I coached at a couple small NAIA schools. Got a chance to come on staff at the University of Kentucky, which I grew up 20 minutes from Rupp Arena, and a huge UK fan. I got a chance to be there for 3 years on staff and see Division I baseball in the SEC, and certainly opened a ton of doors for me, meeting a lot of folks, building my network out, and running a lot of different camps and traveling the country is really cool. Then I had a chance to be a Division II assistant, a Division III head coach, and then I had a chance to get out of coaching, which not a lot of folks do, and still come back. I call it my sabbatical. I took a 4-year break that got me out of coaching, and certainly was easily the most pivotal 4 years of my life. Not only getting married, having a child, getting into scouting and seeing it from that perspective, but it was about the job that I took with the ABCA and changing my whole perspective on what real servant leadership and what serving others can really look like, and what it can do for you as a leader, and certainly as a person. And just had this stroke that I really wanted to come back to coaching and try it a different way, and do it with a little servant's heart, and have come back here to Georgia Gwinnett. We've had a good run. We've been in the World Series the last few years, and won a national championship a few years back, and helped. I think right now our total is 25 players into professional baseball in the last 3 years. And this is my 5th year as head coach. The future question is I love, because we've got something that we feel like we're building here that I'm going to see through. I want to build a legacy program and build this thing out as long as we can. I just took the manager job at the Chatham Anglers up in the Cape Cod League, so that gives me a chance to have a summer gig, and then this one that I can float back and forth and be the only two things beside my family that I'm going to spend my time on. So I plan on being a Grizzly for a long, long time.
So you're going to, in the summer months in the Cape Cod, you're going to go up and coach. You're going to be gone.
I'm gonna be gone. I'm gonna coach some pretty good players, and it's a neat opportunity that it's not a position you take, Shep. That, hey, I'm gonna go dip my toe and coach for a year or two. It's a life decision,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we meet it with our family that this is what we're gonna do, and where we want to be is exactly the organization that I would want to be part of, and hopefully we can make that a long-term stay for us. And again, I think it really plays well with what we're doing here at Georgia Gwinnett.
I mean, you guys will be able to recruit up there too, really, with the way things are now a little bit.
Yeah, if you're connecting dots, it lines up pretty well.
I mean, I didn't know if you wanted to come out and say that, but yeah, I mean, there's going to be
Yeah,
kids there that are looking to transfer, and I mean that obviously is going to help you guys, and
yeah.
I think one misconception of high school kids looking to go play college baseball, and maybe it's getting a little bit better now, is they look and see at like NAIA and JUCO as like, okay, well, if I can't go D1, or I'm not good enough to go D1 or D2, I'll go play JUCO or I'll go play NAIA, not realizing how good the players are at NAIA at the highest level, and how good like JUCOs are stacked. Like I mean, you guys have how many guys throwing 90 plus in your bullpen right now?
I mean, it's most our entire staff. I mean, it's you're. I mean, I think it goes back to what we were talking about before you hit record. I think sometimes families and players, especially, we're just uneducated on different levels. We don't have perspectives, and that's okay. I didn't either. When I
Sure.
was a player in high school, and like most, I was the best player on my high school team, but I was from a town of 50,000 people, and you're just this big fish in a small pond. You can't see what's outside in your region, let alone your state, let alone your geographic region, let alone the country.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just, I remember, Shep, I got this book, and it had all the addresses and info on all the baseball teams in the country. And my dad sat down, he goes, "All right, so now this is before emails and all that good stuff." So I was going to write or type up letters at a word processor. And I typed up all these letters and put them to all these different coaches. I sent out about 50 of them, but I sent them to all the SEC, all
Mm-hmm.
the ACC, all the Big 12. I sent them to all these high profile Division I schools. In my mind, I didn't even know what Division II was, or D3 or NAI or JUCO. And so it doesn't, I don't hold that against folks, but I do think if you spend some time, it's the beauty of the internet, and you kind of play around on some different websites and you clue into some social media stuff, I think you're going to see that the upper levels of Division II, of NAI, those are going to look a lot like mid-major Division I baseball. We just don't have the D1 beside our name. I mean, our majority of our guys on our field played Division I baseball or were JUCO high performers. I mean, it's a talent driven level. And you still have guys that, again, if it's the mid tier D2, or again Division III, and mid tier NAI, they're still really good baseball players. And I think for levels, you can chase that and you can get the tweet or the Instagram post and all the love that comes with it. But there's a reason that portal is working. There's a reason that our roster is made up of a ton of transfers, because people are chasing the wrong things. They're not looking at the right fit. They're looking at, again, checking a box. And more often than not, you check the box, but a year or two later, you're still looking for a new place to go play. And everybody says it won't happen to me. It happens. It happens a lot. And so I just think, do your research and spend some time trying to find the right fit that makes the most sense for you, and what you're looking for, and what makes, again, you feel comfortable, and then make your choice without the level in mind. That would be my advice.
Our advice is along those lines to the kids is like, go where you're wanted, one,
Sure.
and two, fit over anything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, the cliche of like, would you go to this school if baseball weren't involved, is kind of true, but also like you mentioned, like there's so many schools that you don't know about, and you don't realize how
Yeah.
good of an experience you can have there. So you
Yeah.
probably wouldn't go there if it wasn't for baseball, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially like at the Division III level. Like you were at Spalding,
Yeah.
and like I was at Oglethorpe. I
Yeah.
mean, oh yeah, Oglethorpe's in a big city, but we'd have people on campus that are like, man, I've driven by this thousands of times, and I've never been in it.
I know.
I've never known how amazing this is.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're if they have a good baseball experience, they're most likely going to have a good school experience. And we've
Yeah.
been fortunate in our program that everyone that we have sent to school is still with that school, and they've
Well,
not transferred. And that's for me. I don't want to say it's a feather in my cap, but it's something that I'm very proud of, because I have my guys where I call them, like, if it's a Division I player, I call the same, it's the same 7, 8 guys,
mhm.
coaches first,
Mhm.
to send my guys there, because I know that, if that kid is not the all-star player and the number 4 hitter, like I know he's still going to be developed on and
Yeah.
off the field, and he's going to be cared about.
Yeah.
And you that's what it's about. And
No
nobody
doubt.
wants to nobody wants to transfer. It's hard on everybody, but the reality is, like, you're going to transfer.
Yeah.
A lot of kids are going to transfer.
And things happen. I'm not even. We're way past even buyer's remorse. We're just. I mean, things happen. Coaches take jobs. Players transfer in. It changes the dynamic for
Hmm.
that particular kid. Uh, Something happens with the family, and the kid just, I want to get closer to home, or
Yep.
he gets there, and again, whether it was, you got still have some COVID effect of some kids were recruited through Zoom. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you show up and you're like, I don't know if this is for
Yeah.
me.
Yep.
That's okay. Like I think it's like,
We're almost numb to it as coaches now. I mean,
but it's just reality, man. It's
yeah.
to me, it's no different than dating. And thank God I didn't marry who I was dating when I was 16 years old.
Oh my
Like
God.
it all it all just falls into place how it should. And I think we try here, and again, I'm saying this because 100% of our room has transferred at some point. And we just try to like get in there and go, hey man, like number one, it's okay. It's part of it. It happened. You're not on this island where you have to figure out, man, I gotta go through this process again. There's countless others that are in the same boat. But I do think it does the once you transfer and make that decision to leave, man, you really got to recognize maybe the pitfalls that you had or the blind spots that you had.
Yep.
And if those things come up, you're like, well, I'm gonna make sure I address X, Y, and Z because I need to get this right. You don't want to do it 3 or 4 times. If you have
Oh
to do
yeah.
it, you
Oh
want to
yeah.
do it once, and find the right place.
I always like the recruiting process as a whole. I think relates to the dating so much, and I've always used this, and Geo's is always just like face palm, like, oh, I hate when you do that. But it really is, man. Like, you don't want to marry the first person you go on a date with. You don't want to commit to the first school that you
Sure,
go take a visit with, the first coach that talks to you, because like you got to figure out what you like, what you don't like.
no doubt.
And I mean, the point you made where you need to kind of look, if you transfer, what you need to look at yourself in the
Yeah,
mirror. A little self reflection for everybody's good. I
no
mean,
doubt.
I'm divorced, and
I am too.
I
Yeah,
had to. Yeah, we don't need to go down that path of what happened, but
that's a whole
like,
nother show.
yeah, but like it really wasn't my fault. But it's if I didn't go say, okay, let me look at myself, let me see what I did wrong to get to the point where she wanted to leave or whatever,
Yeah,
then I wouldn't be who I am today. And I have a
yeah,
lovely fiance that if she would have met me 10 years ago, then like we wouldn't be where we're at because I was an idiot. Like, and it's the same way with kids, like a little self
yeah.
reflection and going through the recruiting process of, okay, well, I want to go be a grizzly bear. Is it the Bears or the Grizzly Bears?
We just go straight Grizzlies,
The
baby.
Grizzlies.
Yeah,
I want to be a Grizzly. Like,
yeah,
let me go see who's on their roster. Let's
yeah,
look up their perfect game profile. Let's see what they ran. Let's see what they threw. And then you kind of compare it with your stats and your metrics, and you say, like, okay, well, I would be the softest throwing person on their staff right now.
sure.
Maybe it's not the place for me, or maybe I need to do a little bit more work and get better. And I
Yeah,
don't think that's done enough. But again, it's not to any parent's fault. Like, you don't know what you don't know.
yeah. And it's the beauty of the internet, man. I said it earlier. I just you could peruse some websites and you could learn so much. Like, you were talking earlier about schools and just for sake of argument, I'll throw one out there because I bet there's a bunch of kids listening to this that don't know this school I'm getting ready to say. But you could say, hey man, I got this Division 1 opportunity for you, or you can go to North Greenville Division 2 and play. And they're going to choose the Division 1 like sight unseen. It's like, cool. You just chose a low mid major that's probably going to win 15 games a year.
Hmm.
And they've done it for the past 10 years. So it's not like you're the you're the magic bean that shows up and turns you into a 40 game winner going to Omaha. So you're probably going to win 15 games again. And North Greenville is on its way to winning about 50 games a season for the past 5 seasons and made it to the World Series and won a national championship and, amazing experience. But not every kid wakes up every day wanting to go to North Greenville. In the same way they don't want to go to Tampa, same way they don't want to go to Georgia Gwinnett. And I think what all of us and Landon and Coach Urso, myself, Coach Dinkle down at Southeastern, many of us on the tops of Division 2 or NEI level, we just recognize that, man. There's not a kid that wakes up every day, even in Gwinnett County, that says, man, I can't wait to be a Grizzly. If Georgia Tech offers that kid, he's going. If Mercer offers, he's going. If Georgia Southern, offers a pair of free cleats, that kid's going. And that's okay, man. Like again, like we don't fight those battles. We don't recruit high school guys. It doesn't, the kid we need is not the kid we're going to get. We
Mm-hmm.
need that kid to go to Georgia Tech and then maybe not play as a freshman and decide, you know what, I should probably go to JUCO and get some reps and some innings or some stats underneath me. And they go to Georgia Highlands and they crush it for a couple years and they end up in Grand Junction and play in the World Series. And you know what? I want to stay close to home. I'm from the area. I want to play at Georgia Gwinnett, and man, we welcome them with open arms. The difference is for us, in the same way it is at Greenville and Tampa and the schools I mentioned, is that kid has perspective now.
Mm-hmm.
He's seen the world from a much different, again, viewpoint. And as I mentioned earlier, he really knows what he's looking for. He knows what he likes. Again, as we talk, as I am with anybody in my life, I'm extremely transparent. We were the same way with our recruits. We don't sell sparkles and candy and then they show up and it's razor blades. Like for us,
Mm-hmm.
it's this is what we do, man. This is how we do it. These are the expectations. This is the structure. There's a lot of freedom, but there's a certain way we do things here that helps us be successful. You can be part of that. We can help you. We can develop you. We can help you win, get to professional baseball. And I think it's, the kids that have gone through some things, they hear exactly what they're looking for and go, that's what I've been searching for. I chased and I never found it. And it sounds like you guys have what I'm looking for. And again, it's a matter of perspective. And sometimes at 17, we just don't have it. So we got to do our part and do our research and make great decisions the best we can.
I mean, we would get the same thing at Oglethorpe. I mean, we were Division III, and we'd get D1 kickbacks or you know D2 or other D3s, and they'd come and they'd say like, "Man, I wish I would have found this place out of high school." It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, but out of high school, you would have not thought the same things that you think
no
now
doubt.
because the perspective. And
Yeah.
as you get older, you just get wiser, man, because life happens, and
Thank God.
yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
really unfair that we ask 15-year-old kids to know what they want
You know.
in life. What do they want to major in? What kind of program do they want? What kind of
Yeah.
coach do they like to play for? Like, do you like big city, small? Like, that's so hard. They don't know. Most of them
Yeah.
haven't experienced it, or
Yeah.
they haven't experienced it as away from home where mom's not waking you up, doing your laundry. I mean, there's so many variables and factors. It's so
Sure.
hard to get recruiting right.
Yeah. You're dead on
And
there.
I think I think that one of the best things that happened is the new recruiting rule where they can't reach out to them until August 1st of their junior year, because
Yeah.
that just makes, I mean, they're just closer to a finished product than they were at 15, you
Well,
know?
and you don't, I'll tell you what else it's done. It's taken away that pressure that a lot of those freshmen and sophomore kids were feeling. And man, it's crazy. Like I've done more showcases and camps than any person that you'll ever have on this show. I can assure you of that. I've run a camp in like 44 of the 50 states. That was
There you
the
go.
bulk of my beginning of coaching was running camps and traveling around and doing camps. And I've seen it from 1,000 different angles. To think that some of the 14 and 15-year olds that we've ran across, that those kids were ready to make a decision that would not only affect the next 3 years of their high school career, but the 4 years of their college career. And let's face it, that decision will have an impact on the next 40 years of their life. And you think at 14 that kid's got it, well put together. There was so much. I mean, going to some camps, like you talk to some kids and it's like, hey, he's got classmates that have already committed. I mean, we're 14. Should we have already committed by now? And it's like, no, because you're not that kid. That kid, either that kid got pushed into it, he was good enough to do it, it made sense for him, or he's going to make a bad decision and he'll change it here in a couple of years. Don't I think there was a lot of undue pressure that came with the early recruiting, at least sliding it back gives you a chance to get those guys, like you said, closer to the finished product. 16, 17, 18 is a little bit closer, but you still see kids. You
Oh,
got to
yeah.
look at the numbers. You still see kids that make those commitments, but somehow don't end up on those campuses. It's part of it. It happens. But again, I think we're doing our due diligence by doing our research and asking the right questions and doing those things. I think you get a little bit closer to hopefully the right moves.
The as the recruiting coordinator, the questions I get or the criticism I would say is
Yeah.
like so much of the early recruiting stuff where it's like we're behind, like they feel so stressed,
I
and they,
know. I know.
and I don't blame them. You know, they've done baseball with their son for and or daughter for the longest time,
Yeah.
and then you know they're a year away from college and their friends are committing, even if they're not playing sports, their friends know where they want to go, and to
Yeah.
tell a parent like you're probably not going to hear much until the summer going into your senior year, it's like, oh my God, how am I? It
I
all comes
know.
down to that. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
man, it's like 3 4 weeks of you played well, 4 or 5 coaches saw you and like you, and now you need to talk to all these coaches. You also need to take a visit to these schools. Then you got to
Yeah.
make your decision, and it's like, um, it's hard. I mean, it's hard. It's stressful, and I think just giving them the calming presence of like we've been here before. It's okay. You're not the only person. Like it's gonna happen, and it's gonna happen fast if you're good enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you just it's like a wave, man. You just gotta ride it. So you guys do social media better than most.
Thank you.
What is? I mean, what's the dynamic? How do you guys decide? Like, do you have a social media manager? Have you just said we are going to do social media and we're going to do it well, and I'm going to put somebody in charge of it? You oversee it. Like, do you know? Like all the posts get run by you. Like you guys do great. You know the flyovers and the drones and all that stuff. Like, or is it one guy on your staff that's like, I absolutely love doing this stuff. Like I want to, I just Chiefs, let me do it. And you're just like, I don't want to know anything about it. Just go post. Here's the login. Do cool stuff. Like what's the dynamic there?
So, when I was into social media before I took the ABCA job, but taking that job really changed my whole perspective on it. I give you to bring us back up to speed. When I took over the ABCA Twitter, for instance, we had roughly about, I think it was roughly about 4,000 followers.
You went crazy with that job.
Well, it was, man, it was a lot of fun. But when you do some research and you listen to people that have had really good success on there, you sort of get some tricks and some tips that really matter. And we went from 4,000 to when I left, we were over 45,000. I think right now, or when I got to ABCA, I know my personal was like at maybe 5 or 6,000. I think it's 37 or something like that. Like for us, it was being so diligent with the plan and the process that gives you the opportunity to build an audience. Because that's what you're trying to do with a following. You're trying to build an audience.
Mm-hmm.
When you send something out, you're trying to hit as many people as you can because it is spreading the word of your association or your program. So when I took the job here, that was one of the things that I brought up. Like, well, I'd like to be involved with social media. I give a ton of credit to our sports information director, our GDN director. One of our assistants was on staff, Kyle, who I'll get back to. And they all said, well, yeah, there's something you're doing that's working. And so we want to see how you would attack this. And then we sat down. One of the big conversations we had, Shep, was we don't have to succumb to just being a small school and living on a small school identity and sharing from a small school perspective. I want to share. This is exactly from our meeting. We want to dominate social media like we are an SEC program, and the way we go about it, and the consistency that we work with our different channels. And at the time, all we had was Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
and that Twitter account had roughly 1,200 followers. And I think now we're well over 11,000. We didn't have Instagram, and we're well over 16,000. It was just going, look, we need to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
We need to share from within. A lot of things we did were coaching videos, live videos from our practice, a lot of different tips, things that we do that that we got it from somebody else,
Oh
but it
yeah.
works here and we share it. And And we try to be what we call it all access. We want to pull back the curtain at all times. We'll share everything but our signs.
Hmm.
And if you call me and you sweet talk me, I'll probably tell you what we do with our signs. But I think it's like for us, just want to show people, hey man, we're willing to put it all out there. We want to make sure that there's people that are wanting it or needing it or want to learn or want to get better. Then this would be a place to end up. Kyle, Kyle Norton, who's one of our assistant ADs.
Hmm.
He was an assistant baseball coach
Yeah,
when I got here,
I know Kyle.
and he got into some social media, and he started to see us turn, and he started the Instagram, and we started to get better at it. We actually, Shep, we got into the 21 season, and we were in late February, and we really hadn't posted a whole lot. And this is, coming off of COVID. So we had the 2020 season, COVID happens, we all go home. We had a bunch of different social media conversations. We got back, we shared a lot that fall. So that's where a lot of the Coaches Corner videos
Hmm.
started, was the fall of 2020. And we got into that late February, and it was on my heart, but I didn't know how to like really address it. Kyle came down to my office and he goes, Sheets, man, I'm really bummed out because it's late February and we're not posting a whole lot. We haven't shared a whole lot. Like we've built up this great following, but we're not even. I don't. He goes, we don't have enough time, and I go, I know, man. So what are we going to do about it? And he goes, I think I want to step away from coaching and I want to crush social media. And I'm like, man, that's a. He goes, yeah, but I'm already in that vein. I'm getting the drone stuff figured out. I want to just do some unique things, and that's the route we went. And Kyle crushed it from that point. You look at what happened from March through now, that's a lot of Kyle Norton's work of putting one foot in front of the other and us being diligent about sharing and giving perspectives from inside our program. One of the best things we ever did was we signed an agreement with Next Up Baseball, who Arsenio is an alum of GGC and is really, considerate of the G Claw and what we're doing. And all those videos from our games, all the different montages, videos that come back from different weekends, a lot of the consistent posting, that all comes from Next Up. So yeah, we financially committed to being great at social media, and it's not something that you wish for, hope for, and it just falls into place. You've got to make concerted efforts. You have to have content that floods the channels, and then you got to have somebody completely dedicated to making that a priority, because consistency matters in social media. So I think anything that I would do, Shep, would just drip throughout. But man, having folks like Kyle and Arsenio and Next Up involved, they give us a chance to coach. And I just get to coach. And there's definitely things that we work on that we'll come down and talk about and have meetings about. But I've given complete freedom and confidence to let those guys run with our different channels. And it's empowered our players. The big thing about our social media, and I'll wrap this up, is that, the players are the rock stars of our social media. And so giving them a lot of videos and a lot of pictures. We have still media pictures of different photographers that are here, giving our guys their own content. So now we're just trying to flood the market and let these guys grow their own brand. But I think you make concerted efforts. It has to be a priority. And if you can shift it to somebody off your staff, then everybody gets to just do their job, which matters.
It's, I mean, even when we started this podcast, just all the different platforms of, I record, edit it, cut it up,
Yeah.
post it to Spotify, Apple, YouTube. But then like part of the cut ups I make are, the short format where it's vertical, and then you got the TikTok, you have
Yeah. Yeah.
Instagram, and then on Twitter, the vertical format doesn't look great, so then I got to cut different ones for the
All of it,
horizontal
man.
one, and it's like it's
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
It's hard, and I play video games. I like the game a lot. I'm a big nerd, big gamer, and people that do it not competitively but for a job because they're just content creators because they have so much following.
Mhm.
I thought, man, it would be so easy just to wake up, play video games, and just post stuff, and you're making bank. And then I started doing this, and I'm like, I have such a newfound respect for content creators because it is
It's a lot.
a lot. It's
It's a lot.
rewarding, and when
Yeah.
you I spend hours making an edit, and I'm like, this is sick, but it's taking me forever. But the
Yeah.
feeling when you get done of seeing the finished product is awesome. And like I'm sure you look back and you can see how you grew ABCA and how you grew GGC, and
Man.
it's like that's cool. And and when you do something well, but you had to be diligent with it. When you finish, it's rewarding, and it's that it's like finishing college baseball, man. It's like and getting a degree. It's like holy
Yeah.
crap, like that was hard, but like it was. I go back and do it over again. You try to tell
It's
guys
rewarding.
like, hey man, that paper that you got that you're stressing out about, that 5-page paper, in about 10 years, you're going to wish you can go back and have a paper due. And
Yeah.
that was the hardest thing that that's the most you had to worry about was I got a paper due. And it's not like I got electric bill to pay. I got the car,
Sure.
I got the dogs, I got the kids, all that stuff. So, um, no, I mean I appreciate the insight on just kind of like
Yeah.
what your guys' plan was, because I mean again, like what you grew ABCA to be is nothing short of amazing, and you guys do a good job with that. And obviously,
Appreciate that.
Kyle was, I didn't know he was behind all that, so that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've done plenty of camps with Kyle. I've worked
Yeah.
plenty of camps, I've ran plenty of camps, and I didn't know he was behind all that. But like, kudos to him, because you guys do it awesome. I mean,
We appreciate that.
the coach's corner, and I mean, I love the drone shots. I mean, personally,
Man,
like those are awesome.
I'll never, I mean, it's great. I'm glad. I appreciate you saying all that. And I'll certainly, uh, let him know that we gave him some love on this show. It was funny when he walked in and goes, "Hey man, I'm thinking about getting into drones." I mean, I remember all that. That was 2020 in a nutshell. He's like, over COVID, I think I'm going to get my first drone. And I'm like, cool, man. And then we start talking about these videos. He goes, dude, we could do drone shots on these
Yeah.
videos. If you go back to some of those early Coach's Corner videos, I mean, that was him learning how to cut up videos and how to work the drone shot. And what it's grown into, man. It's just, I mean, shoot, I got a drone shot picture on my wall. We've got him inside the athletics building from his camera and his drone. I mean, where it grew to. But again, I'll say this again. I give all the credit to him having the pull, and then of course the courage and the confidence to go. But man, I really feel like this is where I need to go. This is where I can bring the most value. And mid-season, literally, our third base coach walked off the field, picked up a camera, and that's where our social media took off. And so again, I give a lot of credit to Kyle. Um, we are always here as a resource. Like, if folks want to reach out to myself or to Kyle or to Arsenio, we can connect all those dots and maybe give folks a little bit of a game plan on how maybe they would approach their site. But really, where it to me boils back to is people follow accounts that they are interested in or want to learn more about, and or they provide extreme value. Those are ways that you attract the right people. So if you want to start posting because you want to attract followers, great. But to your point, it takes time. It's a process. And again, it's like starting a podcast, man. I've done a lot of podcasts over the years. If you start one to reach 10,000 people with your first episode, you are going to be sadly
Oh
mistaken.
yeah. Oh yeah.
You almost have to do 30 episodes and not even look at the listenership, because if that's what's driving your satisfaction level and your fulfillment, you're missing the boat. It takes time, and you have to build a rapport, and you have to show that consistently you create value that people should pay attention to. And then people find it, and then they tell other people, and they come back and they give you the follow, and they follow along, and they retweet your stuff, and they send it out, and it grows organically, but it only happens over time, and consistency. And I think all those things add up.
It, it's almost like, I mean, it just takes one post, right? Like
Yeah.
you just like you just got to keep pecking away, pecking away, pecking away, and just the one post that can blow up, and it doesn't even have to blow up like crazy, right? But like all those
Yeah.
extra people you're meeting, and then one retweet, someone on their timeline likes it, and they retweet, then you're reaching all of their followers. I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
you got to keep pecking away. Eventually, if your stuff's good, I'd like to think you'll blow up if you need to, and you have
Yeah.
a good plan like you guys did, and quality and diligence. I would say probably is the
So,
most. But you're right. Like I try not to look at the metrics of or the analytics of the podcast after every episode. I
yeah.
try to do it after every couple and see, when you're like this post is with a more famous person, and you know it got less views than the guy that
Uh,
is just a random college coach for
None of it
Division
makes
three.
sense,
And
man.
it's like, what was different? Was it the time that we
Yeah,
posted it? Was all that stuff matters. So,
it does. Yes,
um,
it does.
anyways, just switching gears here a little bit.
Yeah.
What, how's the different? What's different about being at like the NAI that you're at now versus the Division 3 that you were the head coach at versus Kentucky as an assistant? Like school wise, player wise, like, and obviously now you're in the South. All that. What just touch a little bit about the differences that you've seen.
Well, I'll start vastly different. I mean, because you got 20 years and a lot's changed at all of those institutions. Um, the few schools I started at, I mean, those schools are in completely different places. Even at Kentucky, I mean, we were at the old stadium, and we had just come off in '06. They had won the SEC for the first time, and '08 we were the number one team in the country for a majority of that season, and a lot of expectations. That was kind of our one of the first real conversations at Kentucky about, is this an Omaha team? And flash forward a few years later, they're in their first, super regional, and just the magnifying glass. It's just where things have gone, brand new stadium, all those things have shifted. Even at Spalding, things have turned. New athletic director, new vision, new plan, field upgrades, things that I was beating down the door, and the new staff and the new administration completely flipped. Shoot, man, I could tell you the ABCA. I mean, when I first got there, we were very archaic, and in 4 years I think we really caught up to speed on a lot of different things. But shoot, man, I've been gone 5 years now, and look how much further it's gone. It's gotten to a place that, the Barnstormers are solidified. The convention, is hitting record highs every year, 7 to 8 thousand coaches. And I remember our first convention, we were fired up that we got 5,600, and because that was a new record. And I think for the perspective of anywhere that you've gone, number one, I thank God for all of those moments. Whether a lot of them were positive. There's a couple of stops along the way that were absolutely freaking miserable, and I still thank God that I have that perspective, that I landed in some of those situations. There's things that more internally now, Shep, things that I have learned, a lot of times what to do, and sometimes what not to do, how to lead people, how to communicate with folks, how to, show care level for your staff and your players. And then I've learned how not to do that and what it looks like when you don't.
100%.
But
100%.
again, I never look back and regret any of the moves, as much as I can look at some of them and go, man, I rushed into that, or hey, I shouldn't have gone there, or man, that was a poor choice. I could say that about several things that I've done, but I've learned, and again, I just turned 43, so I'm getting old. But I look at those moments and I go, man, thank God that I made that choice, because there's so many things that happen on a daily basis that I go, but I learned that. I learned that
Mm-hmm.
15 years ago. I learned that 10 years ago. Um, and there are things that changed the way that I am internally, the way that I view the world, the way that I view coaching, so on and so forth. But I'll tell you what, even in 5 years, what's changed here is we've been very intentional about building a program. And, when I got here, we were only 7 years old. And I don't know if people know how young our program is. This is our 12th year of ever having a baseball program. So we're still in the infancy stages of growth. But, when I got here 7 years, man, there was just a lot of things that I knew we needed to solidify to give us a better platform to build upon. Because again, we are trying to build something of legacy. We're trying to build consistency and be good consistently. So it gives us a chance in 20 years to be, hey man, we are one of the great programs in the country, but you got to be good and you got to be good consistently. You can't have down seasons. You have to stay at the top. And as many folks know in coaching, Shep, that's one of the hardest things to do. You talk about, having a good year. Anybody can wake up and have a good year and things fall into place.
Yeah.
You can do it year in and year out. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be play our last games every season, not every 4 years, every season. We're trying to play our last games at the World Series. We've averaged 50 wins a season for the last four. That's our goal is 50 wins. We're trying to get to that plateau every single season so that again, you put 10, 15 years behind you of 50 wins, you have no other choice but to say, man, that's a great program. But more than that, those stops in 20 years, Shep, it really, I think, and like I said, the 4 year sabbatical was probably the most important time period. It really helped me figure out what matters the most. And what matters more than anything is the experiences of your players and the relationships that you have with those young men and the way you treat them and the way you communicate with them and the way you develop them. And I will hang my hat all day long on the fact that if we are consistently building better people, like intentionally, diligently, in every resource way, form, or fashion, if we are building better people, we're building better baseball players. And I don't think as a younger coach, I would have thought that. I thought, no, I got to build better players. That's how we'll win more games. We got to really spend time on the player. If you're not addressing the internal structure of that kid's brain, if you're not helping him learn how to rewrite his story, if you're not addressing issues that kid has had all his life and trying to fix a broken child, if you're not, addressing that kid with honesty and transparency and giving him the playbook on how to not only make better decisions, but be the person he wants to become. If you're not instilling confidence and courage in that young man so he can get out in the world and make his own choices and follow his own thoughts and ideas, we're not even talking about how to turn a double play.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about a two-strike adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about helping these guys become better men. And if we do that, and we all have the best versions of ourselves, and I think that's what's unique about our program is every day we're trying to uncover what the best version of every person in our room can be. And if we do that, we'll have the opportunity later this season to figure out what the best version of this team can be. And once again, that's our mission every single day of every single year of every team. That's what we do here. That I think is part of our model and our system that we're trying to uncover every year with every team.
I mean, that's really the joy of coaching is especially when you're young and you're in it. You're in it because a lot of us just finished playing and we don't really know what we do without baseball, right? So it's like, well, I'll coach and I can stay in the game, stay around the game.
Yeah.
Until you have that first moment that hits you, that you realized you've helped a kid get to where maybe he wasn't headed, but he needed to head to this other place, and you helped him get there. Or he comes back and he's like, he's now got perspective. He's like, Coach, I just want you to know, like, I wouldn't be where I'm at today without you, and that's when it really hits you, where it's like, holy crap, I'm in it for the right reasons, or like this is why you do it, And I mean, I think most coaches are in it now for that. Not that everyone is a great coach or great at getting the best out of people. I think there's probably different levels, but I think most coaches probably understand at this point, like, I'm not into coaching for fame and money because it's not there, but the reward of waking up and knowing that you changed somebody's life. Um, I had on Coach Smith from Utah Valley,
Yeah.
and through the, I mean, I kind of felt bad because like through the whole talk, I was like, either this guy is incredibly good at pushing his message across, and or he's the most genuine person I know. And I got to the end,
Gotcha.
and he made a comment about his favorite job wasn't being in the SEC like he was. It was the JUCO head coaching job he took out
Yeah.
west
Lower
because
Columbia.
he said, "I know all those SEC kids are going to be okay.
Yeah.
If Coach Smith ain't there, they're going to be able to get. They're going to be doctors and lawyers, and they're going to have success and this, that, and the other." He goes, "When I was at that JUCO job, I knew that a lot of those kids that came through that program that we brought in, their life path was changed, and I helped that. And I was huge into that. Where if they didn't have a coach that cared as much,
Yep.
who knows where they'd be." And that's when I was like, I might even come off. I said, "Damn, dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like this whole time, I was like, this guy is the nicest, most genuine human being ever, or like he is the best at turning on the mic and the camera and just saying what he needs to say." But when he said that, I was like, all right, he is actually just genuine. I mean, the
Yeah.
guys that, and you can really feel that with most guys, the guys that are there for the right reasons, or the guys that like they just don't know what to do with their lives, so they're gonna coach because they've coached baseball for or they've played baseball forever, and now it's gonna be gone. You know,
Well, let me jump in there. Eddie's the real deal. I've known Eddie a long time. He is the absolute real deal. To your point, I think more coaches are on that same page. And I think anyone that was around during those ABCA years, that was the central theme of our message, was that there's a higher calling to coaching. And it took time. It took time for that to resonate because it's a very, and to your point, it resonates with a lot more people than it did 10 years ago, but it's still a little touchy feely. When you're talking about emotions, there's a lot of men that are engineered not to go near conversations like that. When I mention vulnerability at a high school coaching clinic, I watch half the room go, "Did my wife send this guy to talk about vulnerability?" Like it's there's still some touchy emotional feelings to some of those concepts and those words. When you talk about love, you know, there's coaches that, "Hey, I love you guys," and it's, "Yeah, I love you because we're winning." But the minute we lose, I'm gonna let you have it, and you're gonna know that that love was conditional. I think what we're experiencing more of is more folks are receptive to the conversation that there is a way to coach with unconditional love. There
mm-hmm,
is a pathway that that will bring you more fulfillment when you take that leadership triangle and you flip it over and you push the players from the back of the room as opposed to feeling like as the head coach or the manager that hey man, I'm the top of this pyramid. It all runs through me. It's my way or the highway. I think when you've seen and grown with society and the way that our players have changed over the last few years, when you see that they still need these certain dynamics and you coach with that in your heart, man, it can open a lot of doors. But with all that being said, I would say this: there's still, for a lot of us, like you brought up, we decide to get into coaching for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's because a coach impacted us in some way, form, or fashion, and you're
mm-hmm,
like, "Man, I want to have that kind of impact on others," and you follow it. Yeah, there's guys that get into coaching because they don't know what else to do, and they love baseball, and it sounds cool. But you and I both have been on that small school paycheck level. It's the world's greatest weed eater when you realize you got to spend probably your first 8 to 10 years part time
mm-hmm.
until you finally get that full time job. But guess what? You're 30. There's some debt that's involved. There's some credit card. There's some
Yep.
peanut butter sandwiches that are involved.
Yep.
And I still do think there's this process that every coach goes through. And like I very transparently said a minute ago, it took me 11 years of coaching for the wrong reasons and
Mhm.
that 4 year sabbatical to make a decision and realize, man, you got to go this way. This is how you uncover wins and results and the things that you've always been searching for that as a competitor you really want in your life. You want to every coach signs off they want to be in a winning program. They want to have a chance to win their last game. Everybody wants that, but the pathway through that is you have to serve others.
Mhm.
You have to chase relationships. You have to chase what's good for the people in your life. You can't chase it for you. You can't chase it because that's what you want. You can't hunt a win because you desperately crave a win. It's almost like the good Lord puts it out on a string and dangles it, but you can't ever find it. You can't get to it. And I think when you change your heart, which certainly changes your mind and your perspective, when you make it about the right things, you really uncover what this whole coaching thing's all about. But I do believe that it takes time for every coach, Shep, to walk their path. And some get it in year 2, some get it in year 12, some get it in year 20. And to be fair, some coaches never get it. And I like to think that because we've made that conversation more prevalent and open, and hopefully they can see that there's a lot more coaches that are buying into this and they're having success and they're getting fulfilled more than they would if they were chasing the wrong things. I think it does help a lot of more coaches cross over and do it for the right reasons and do it with the real spirit of what a coach is.
Sheets, let me turn my light on real quick. Give me a second.
Go ahead.
Get a little dark in here.
Yeah, all good.
I totally agree with what you said, and it's the same on the travel ball level. And if you would have asked me however many years ago would I ever be involved in travel, I would have said you're crazy.
Right.
It's a different level of fulfillment. It's a different kind of fulfillment. It's what's it's the same, but it's different. Like you're setting a kid up for his 4 years in college, and in college you're setting him up for the rest of his life. So it feels more important on the college level, but really setting up for the rest of his life starts with where he's going to college,
No
and
doubt.
and that's why the recruit that's being the recruiting coordinator is great, because I can influence that, and I can help him along and help the families along, and I get to use the connections I've made, and I still run, I don't know, probably 10 camps a summer and fall for a camp company that you know pays me a little paycheck on the side. It's nice, but really keeping the relationships with the college coaches is huge, and
Yeah.
going to the ABCA every year and having a beer and shooting the shit and remembering like how much you love those guys.
Yeah.
It is a relationship business, as almost everything in life is, right? Like it's all,
Yeah.
they always say it's not about what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
It's so true. And I think being personable is like, if I had to be reborn and I could pick one personality, I was like, I'm a MLB creative player in real life. Like hard work obviously is up there, but like
Yeah.
being personable is one of the most important things. And it kind of sucks because like some people just like don't know how to go about that.
Mhm.
Some people will learn through more perspective, like you talked about. But because I
Mhm.
remember myself in high school, I was like immature. I mean, I didn't really know. Like I talked to my friends, but like a random person to be like, oh no, like I don't want to have a talk with a random person.
Sure.
But then like as you just get in different situations and you learn how to chat with different people from all walks of life, and
Yeah.
it is rewarding, man, and it's something that I'm so glad I got in. And I met my greatest friends in college, and they were the ones that were in my wedding. They'll be in my next one. And everyone thinks like your high school friends are like, oh my god, I got high school friends and they're my best friends in the world. But like when you go to college, it's different, especially when you're on a team. with baseball guys in baseball, and you're going through that whole season with them, the blood, the sweat, the tears, and the ups and the downs.
Put this in perspective, and I'm totally with you. I agree completely. I had some, and still do. I've got, my childhood best friend. I mean, he's my ride or die dude. If I had a flat tire right now and I called him, he's 6 hours away. He'd drive down here. Like it, you'll always have that group. But like you ask any high school senior, hey man, if you get married one day, who's in your wedding? Well, he's going to name all the closest people. He can't see the future. And what you can't see, and this is the reality of the college baseball experience, is you are going to be with these guys for 9 out of 12 months for the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means, that is every single day in some form or fashion, whether it's the team classroom, whether it's the locker room in between classes or before practice or after practice, whether it's your team Bible study, which again for us, man, has been one of the coolest dynamics is that our players lead our team Bible study and the connections that we've made out of it. We had 10 kids last year give their lives to Jesus Christ last year. And it was like that was organic from our players
It's
and
awesome.
the bond that those kids have moving forward. But it's on buses, it's in hotel rooms, it's again during the season. You're with those people every day in some form or fashion. There are no off days.
Mm-hmm.
Their apartments, at watching football, going to eat at restaurants, going to a party across town, whatever it is, you're with those folks for so much of your life at a critical juncture where you're away from your family. You get to make your own decisions. You
Mm-hmm.
start to solidify who you are, what your beliefs are, what your political beliefs are, what your religion beliefs are, how you want to operate on a daily basis. You start to make those decisions with this group of people. And so inevitably, like it was for me, I've divorced, got married fresh out of college myself, and I had 10 guys stand up with me. And if you'd asked me in high school, it'd have been 10 of my high school best friends. When I stood up at 26 and got married, it was 3 high school buddies and 7 college baseball
Mm-hmm.
teammates. And from that perspective, I think a lot of baseball guys will tell you there's something different that happens in that college experience that any player listen to this, you want. It doesn't matter what level, it doesn't none of it. You want that experience. It's different, it's exciting. You'll learn more about who you are and what you want to do with your life. You'll have a great time. There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
better than jumping on a bus and going somewhere, seeing another campus, jumping off playing a game, whether you win or lose or not, the bus trip back, playing Mafia, all those different things that come from that time together. You want that. And again, pursue that because it's something that can change your life, literally change your life.
And it's one of those things where like you try to explain it and you try to tell kids and families, but until they go through it,
Yeah.
a lot of them don't understand. But it's like, listen, just please, please, please trust me. It will be one of the best decisions you make. Even if it doesn't work out in the end and you leave and you go to Georgia and you stop playing baseball,
Yep.
you don't have to live with the rest of your life of like, man, what
Yep.
if I went and played,
That's right.
and I try to tell guys like, please, even if you're unsure at age 15 or 16, approach the next 3 years like you want to play college baseball because we can always say no. But if
Yeah.
you just say I don't want to play college baseball and then you come up to Coach Shep in the fall of your senior year and you're like, hey, I've decided I'm gonna miss this. I want to play. I'm gonna help you, but you are making it really, really hard because a lot of like guys are already picked up. A
Yeah.
lot of spots are filled. We're so late getting there on the 8 ball that like, I just always tell guys like assume you're going to play or assume you're going to want to play. And
Mhm.
if we can't, then we'll figure out where a good place to go to school is. But it's so tough to say, all right, I'm gonna play now.
Yeah. You're right. You're right about that.
Um, what's your in season? I mean, give me like a little in season schedule. Like what's your week looking like for you and the players and and all that.
So right now, once we start playing games in the first weekend of February, we try to get our guys number one healthy and stay healthy. And the first month of the season, it's just bumps and bruises, man. It's unbelievable. Just, hamstrings get tight and shoulders get tight and backs get tight. And there's just things that come with the beginning part of the season. So we try to limit our week to weekends, and we try to eliminate the midweeks. March starts the midweek game. So now you have the Tuesday game and then the Friday, Saturday, either 3 game set or 4 game set. What we do, and then we take a priority in, Shep, is that recovery matters to us, and
Oh
so
yeah.
we come off a Friday, Saturday weekend series. Well, certainly Sundays off. We'll get together Monday and do a light workout, a lot of review from the weekend, and really do a classroom session breaking down the weekend and things that we got to improve on. We play a Tuesday midweek game. Wednesday is another off day for us, so we actually do 2 off days a week. I think a little bit of that too is that we are an older group, so our roster is 21 to 24 years old, and your body reacts differently
Oh
to
yeah.
the playing than it maybe did when you bounce back at 18. So because of that, we do the 2 days a week, and we get back together on Thursday, do another workout, kind of like we did today, and get our ducks in a row before we play again Friday, Saturday. So that's kind of our weekend. As a coach, obviously you're never off. It's
No, you're
every
not.
day in the office and staying on top of all the dynamics of this team, but we're also recruiting, for next year. And so we actually had 2 Zoom FaceTime visits today with guys, California kid and a kid from Maryland. And so they obviously can't jump in the car and go see everybody. We did little FaceTime visits with them, so we're still on the phones and working those angles. And thank goodness I got a great staff around me with Coach Terrell, our recruiting coordinator, and our other staff that really make that a priority, and they let me stay focused on the team and coaching the guys, which I really do appreciate.
Where'd you grow up, Sheets?
Frankfort, Kentucky, we call it God's country.
My
Um, he
my
has a mansion on the hill in Frankfort.
yeah. My parents live in um Lancaster.
There you go. Okay.
So
Yeah.
actually they did for 5 years. They just bought a house probably 30 minutes outside of Louisville. They're building a house actually. So
There you
my,
go.
my sisters live in Lexington and Louisville, and so
That's
I
awesome.
know a little bit about that. So, but I grew up in Ohio, so I didn't. I mean, I just spent Thanksgiving and Christmas back
Yeah.
there and
Yeah.
all that. So I did not know you were from Kentucky.
Yeah. I'm a homer when it comes to the bluegrass state, man. I just this is only the second time as an adult that I've lived outside the state. So like, we moved to North Carolina for ABCA, and then now we're in Georgia. Um, I haven't been back in a while. I haven't seen my family and my friends in a while, but I know my wife's from Illinois, and you know how, Kentucky,
Yeah.
we want to be the South, but we're not. And we get snow, and that's what I love about Georgia, man. Nobody knows what snow is, and if it gets cold, it's 30. It's not negatives with freezing and ice,
Yep.
and it's just we won't go any further north than where we are right now. If anything, we'll keep moving south.
Yeah, that's my fiance says the same thing, man. Like she's from Long Island, New York, and she's like we're not going back north. Like we'll
Can't do
never.
it.
No, man, because like cold is like you said 30 degrees. Like I mean, you can get a couple days where it's in the teens, but like other than that, I mean, and that's doable. And
Yeah.
I hate when people are like you're down here and it's cold and you're like, man, it's cold. They're like, well, aren't you from Ohio? Like you shouldn't be cold. I'm like, brother, I could be from
Sure.
the North Pole and cold is cold. Just because I dealt with it more doesn't mean I like it or I'm not cold. Like,
So I go super stubborn, and I wear shorts year round.
oh
So the days that it gets really cold, like I mean this, I wore pants twice this past winter. And both times I walk in this building, people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, freaking cold, man. Like it's really cold. It's really windy.
Yeah,
But I wear it because I just that's why we moved here, man. What a great opportunity to be in fantastic weather and just love everything that's going on here
the
in Lawrenceburg.
spring and fall are great. Fall
Oh,
after the heat wave of fall leaves. So
yeah, part of that's I love that part of it too, man. We can get out here and train a little bit, and it's really good for us.
especially like if you have turf, it's like you're practicing year round. The recruiting
Yeah,
during season, obviously, it's a little different because you guys aren't recruiting the high school player.
yeah.
When does when do kids start entering the portal? Like, I mean, obviously, probably not January right away, right?
No, but it's like
It,
our cycle is year to year. It's a and I would say that's for most small schools. I mean, in Division two, NAI, junior, we got to manage it year to year. Like God bless them. I get an email from a 2025 brother. I can't name you one 2024 name. So 2025 is way outside the box, and obviously 26 and 27. But again, like you mentioned, it's just not high school for us is not where our money's made. And so we are on the year to year transition of kids that are putting up really good numbers on the junior college level, and then guys who are at Division ones that might be playing or may not be playing, but they're guys that we have a beat on or we know about or we have a connection with somehow that we're just tracking them. We're just seeing how they're doing and paying attention. And then, as you mentioned, I, this next month into May is when that portal really starts to take off. I think you've got, the end of the season for most Division ones, and you've got the postseason roster conversations and those things that start to happen in May. That's when the portal will really take off. May and June
mhm.
are the big months for that. July is kind of the trickle down effect of everybody that's left and last minute decisions. And but to your point, we were talking a little while ago. We'll sign some really good players in August,
Mhm.
and we start school like August 10th, and it's part of it, man. Like it takes everyone's timeline is different, and sometimes it takes little moments that happen or things fall through, and but yeah, a lot of us right now we're tracking things online. We're paying attention to stats. We're making our calls. We're staying in touch. We've actually put together a really good class so far of really good impact junior college guys. And the last bit is we're going to pay attention to the Division one transfers and sprinkle some of those guys on top. And I think we're going to have a really good team.
What you mentioned that like a 25 would email you. Like I always get the questions from like freshmen and sophomores a lot. Like, what should I be doing now? Should I be emailing coaches? I'm like, look, you can. I don't want to say it's a waste of time, but like it's a waste of time because like I don't want to say I don't have it in my heart to tell kids like when they're like, what should I be doing now? And it's the answer is literally nothing other than
Get strong.
train. Yeah, say that
Train.
again, please.
Get as strong as you can in the frame that you have. That's what you should be doing right now. I mean, like you said, train, speed up your arms, speed up your bat, speed up your feet, spend time in agility and training. And you just, like the thing about baseball, like if you came to one of our games and you saw us stand for the national anthem, you would go, holy smokes, man, those dudes are physical. And we've got 6'9s and 6'7s and 6'6 and 6'5s and fours and threes. The majority of our guys are 6'2s. Like if you're 6 foot, I'm 6 foot and I'm one of the shorter guys in our dugout. But when you look at second base, our second baseman's a 3-year starter. It's 5'6".
Mm-hmm.
Our shortstop is a starter every game this season. He's 5'7". I mean, the good thing about baseball is if you're the best at that position, there is a place for someone to come find you. And I think what separates you is like our second baseman. He's stronger than any other 5'6" second baseman. I mean, he's physically put together, strong, hit a home run in our Tuesday game. Like kid can play. So you get as strong as you can in your frame, and then let the play take care of itself. And to your point, communication at that point, you're way ahead of it. If you're really good, they know who you are. They're paying attention. Don't compare your timeline to anyone else's. Again, like we talked at the start of the show, the junior year is when it all can happen anyway. So it's not like they can really reply. If they reply, it's come to camp.
Hmm.
So, I mean, if you want a camp invite, sure, send out emails. If not, keep training and be prepared for your junior year because that's where the rubber's gonna hit the road.
It That's the hardest part for me is just getting parents to understand and be okay, like we said earlier, with just hang on, just wait.
Patience.
But kids, like, metrics matter. Like, I know we're in Braves country, so like Greg Maddux, right?
Yeah.
I know that you could, there's been MLB pitchers in the past that have thrown not as fast as others and
Yeah.
all that, but like, look, this is the world we live in now. Like, you need your metrics matter. And look, you if you're a third baseman that runs like a 7.6, 7.8, 7.7, you better hit tanks, and it's a give and take. And I mean, every
Yeah.
level is different. At the lower the level, like, obviously
Yeah.
the less tools you can have, or like the more of a hole you can have. But if you're slow, then you better hit tanks. If you're
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
middle infielder, then you can't hit really. You better be sweet. You better be able to
Yeah.
pick it. You better
Yeah.
be fast. And when you get on the field, you you don't make errors, right?
No
Like,
doubt.
and you get on the bases and you're best base runner. But and it all the as you go up, the least amount of errors you can have, the least amount of flaws you can have,
Sure.
and all that. So just getting parents to understand that. And I'm glad you made the point of kids just need to get stronger, and kids need to work on improving the things that can improve, because then
Yeah.
when you're ready to come out and show yourself off, you
Yeah.
have something to show off, and that's how you get picked, and that's how
Yeah.
you get
It's
um
all about best foot forward.
mhm.
That's the you you always want to be able to put your best foot forward. And we have enough, college coaches have enough feel to look at a kid and go, yeah, but if he gets stronger, I know that the feet are going to speed up and the foot speed's going to speed up and the arm strength's going to come with it. And we can get that kid stronger. Yeah, we do that. We have to project. But I tell you what, and again, spending the last 4 years with the Canes and being around some of those kids and some of the top kids in their class at 16, and I can tell the difference right away. I can tell, like, this kid works at it. Physically, he's put together. His actions are smooth. He's doesn't get cheated on his swing. Body responds well, and as you well know, especially like WWBA, that's a long, grueling 2 week tournament. And when that kid every day is on his game and his feet are underneath him and he doesn't need a day off because he's super sore from playing a doubleheader the day before, that as a college coach, you go, that's the kid I want. And it's just about putting your best foot forward. And so just, yeah, if you can handle the body, the strength, the training, that way when you do get your moment, you're ready for it, you're leagues ahead of everyone else.
um what, like, I know that you guys don't recruit high school kids much anymore, but for a high school kid, and we can wrap it up with this. What I don't want to say what's the best way to get recruited, but and it's probably the answer to this question is probably similar to your social media approach of to be diligent and post everywhere. For them to get recruited, is it Twitter? Is it going to a bunch of showcases and camps? Is it playing a bunch of games? Like, what is the best? What's the best thing that they can do?
I hate to go Johnny generic here, but man, all of it matters. I mean,
Yeah.
I just think that there are coaches that recruit on social media and even use it as a discovery tool. I can't begin to tell you how many dudes I had no clue about until I'm just thumbing through
Mm-hmm.
and, well, what's this? Because somebody posted it and retweeted it, liked it. It's now on my feed. And I'm like, well, that kid can play a little bit. Hey, Coach Terrell, can we call this kid? Like, this kid can, we've signed kids out of just pure discovery on social media. Um, there's kids that DM you and, coach, I'm interested in your school. And, well, if the video's there, click, watch, kid can play a little bit. Again, there's value in that. There's value in being, I know we're in Atlanta, and being at Lake Point at a tournament, because it's not just us. There's hundreds of schools in those stands watching games, and we're watching kids we know. But if a really good player pops up that we don't know, we're going to go to the roster and go, "Oh, Michael Shepard, that kid can play a little bit. Who's that guy?" Like, there's just value in all of it, and I think you got to play the game, and a soft opening, discovery, kind of like this. I always call it social media handshakes. It matters if you can be creative on social media and share on social media. I love being able to find a recruit and the video catches my eye and he's 90-92 with a slaughter, but then I can go through his social media and I can kind of see what he's posted and how he's progressed. A year ago, he was 84, 86, and now he's 90-92. Well, he didn't get there by just dreaming. He probably got there by working his tail off or eating the right way or sleeping, recovery, whatever it might be. And you're like, hey, man, so what's going on there? I mean, you made a jump in your last year. Yeah, coach, I just got really dedicated to my strength and made that a priority, and I made my training be the driver in my daily schedule, and I'm reaping the benefits of that. Well, you don't think that kid's going to come here and be successful? Like, so again, I think use all the tools to showcase yourself the best way, but you got to play in front of somebody. They got to know who you are. There's still a world for emails, but I think, in my opinion, I think where you lose traction is the email or the DM. It's a soft intro, but if there's no video for me to evaluate, I'm not taking your word that you're a good player.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, I'm very interested in your school. Sweet. If you can play, but I need to know. You got to attach the video. And I think for players, hear me on this, make it incredibly easy for coaches to give you an instant evaluation. And you're going to be shocked at how many guys watch it and go, "Man, this kid can play. Hey, man, what's up? Just want to check in. Where are you at? And where are you at in this whole process? You want to come for a visit?" But if not, you're just like everybody else. You're just, "Hey, coach, what's going on? Dude, I'm not here to have a text battle with you.
Right.
You got to show me some video so I can see you and let you know, hey, man, it's not the right fit." Or, "Hey, man, hey, there's something to this." I just say use all the different ways to get your name out there and create opportunities, because you just don't, it's not a one size fits all, and it's not a one thing works over the other. It all plays because different coaches use different tools to open themselves up. So use them all.
Um, we end every podcast with something called the lightning round. Obviously, with the
Okay.
ATL lightning, so I needed to cheese it up a little bit.
I love it.
Short, quick answers. Most are irrelevant questions, but they're fun.
Okay.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes.
Favorite baseball player?
I told you I'm an A's fan. Jason Giambi.
Not Jeremy.
Can't forget that guy fast enough.
Pineapple and pizza.
All day long.
What's the best sunflower seed flavor?
Cracked pepper.
Ooh, you only get a couple handfuls before your mouth is like.
Oh, I love it. I love the burn. I do. I love it. Fires me up.
Big league chew or double bubble?
Big league chew 10 times a day, all day, every day.
Are you pro or anti shift?
As a coach, pro shift. As a former designated hitter, anti shift.
Man, so many people have said like, well, as a coach, like I like it, but like I wouldn't want to play with that. Do you have any pregame superstitions?
Yeah, I got several. I listen to Master P Ghetto Dope before every game. I'm probably the only chubby white coach in America that does
Yeah,
that.
yep,
Uh,
probably are. I'm not
I,
going to disagree with you on that.
yeah, I put my uniform on and all that stuff the same way. I have my daily routine. It just makes me feel good. It's my routine.
What's your favorite MLB ballpark?
Ooh, old. Now I do love new, but old Yankee Stadium. Oh my God, so much character to it. Old Yankee Stadium,
All right, Big Green Monster or Chicago Ivy?
big green monster.
Favorite Gatorade flavor?
White cherry. Oh God, I would dump one over my head right now. I love it.
That's the one I always had at school. It was like they had one Gatorade flavor in the vending machine, and that's the one. It was white
Now I
cherry.
do love Riptide Rush. That would be a close second. But the white cherry is, oh my goodness gracious, it's
For
the
those
best.
of us that are listening, that is white and purple. Um,
Yeah,
we are a color. On this
that's all
podcast
right. White,
we identify it with colors. We identify with
white
colors.
is the best. The light purple, not the dark purple. I call
It's not bad, but it's not as good as the light
we
purple.
we call it with my best friends back home. We call it grapier grape because it is like the
Yep.
grapiest thing you've ever had. I
Mm-hmm.
like the light purple. Yeah.
Uh, Adam Sandler or Vince Vaughn?
Oh, that's tough. I do love Vince Vaughn. I love dry humor. I
Yeah,
love
me.
it.
Yeah, me too. That's
Yeah.
my favorite. Most people say Adam Sandler. He's fine, but like
Yeah, it's great.
the dry humor. Yeah, I mean that's the whole point. Like you got to put two good people on there. I mean
No doubt.
I can't put some scrub and the best. That's boring. So they're two big icons
Yes.
with they both do humor stuff and they're two totally different senses of humor. But yeah, Vince Vaughn
I
is.
love it.
I mean, I still quote Wedding Crashers to this day.
Dude, all day, every day. That's, I mean,
It's so
in
good.
infamy, that's one of the best movies ever.
Coach, that's all I got. I
Man,
appreciate you joining today,
I
and
survived.
yeah, we could have. I'm sure we could have talked longer, but we
Talk to
gotta
him.
shut it off at some
Talk to
point.
him.
But I appreciate it, and you got anything that you need to plug?
No, I number one, Shep, I value the opportunity, man. I love being able to obviously talk about our program and talk about what we do here, and I'm willing to help anybody, players, coaches, parents, even try to give you some advice or send you in the right direction. Go check us out on social media.
You guys
Reach
are
out
out there.
to us. Come to a game. Come check us out and see what we got and give you a perspective on our level.